Fallon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yeah. So my name is Fallon. I grew up in Brainerd, Minnesota, which I would say is pretty rural, but I don't know, kind of a city. And where we are kind of located, we're a little bit of a hub for a lot of rural Minnesota. But I've always described it as like the middle of Minnesota, so it's a very convenient place to live within the state. And I grew up on a lake. I was very fortunate that way. And so very attracted to water as a young child, and kind of, I think now I kind of see my life as this like theme of like flowing with water, I guess. So I went to college essentially to swim. And then from there discovered a passion for international affairs, and studied abroad in Costa Rica, where I like completely fell in love with sustainable farming practices, and then just became obsessed with food systems. And so I came back to the US and just started pursuing this with kind of all of my being. And realizing I had no idea like kind of how the food system functioned, where if you wanted to like switch your lifestyle and like where you were buying your food from, or how it was being grown, it's incredibly difficult. And so I found a farmer who would take me on, who was actually Noreen Thomas, and I kind of found her in a roundabout way. So talking about this theme of water, I guess. So I was very obsessed with water quality in Minnesota, and that's kind of how I got attracted to sustainable agriculture and using water in a responsible way and protecting our waterways. So Minnesota has this program called water quality certification that farms can get, saying that they are protecting our waterways and using it in a responsible way. So I was job shadowing this individual and met, it was actually Noreen's farm. And so I talked to her for about 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh, this woman's amazing. And so, like you meet these people, I feel like they're like, your soulmates in life, where you have so many different just connections, and you just sense like I need to do something with this person. And so so I just emailed Noreen after that and asked if there was anything I could do to assist her. And she, of course, being involved with a million projects all the time, emailed me back a list of things I could help her with. And so my last semester of college at University of North Dakota, I interned with her at her farm. And through this experience, we wrote a grant together to SARE, which is Sustainable Agriculture Research. There might be another, I think research is the R and the E, but I might be wrong. I usually it's referred to as SARE, but anyways. And so we ended up getting this grant to research what grain varieties could be grown in the Red River Valley that would be suitable for malt production. And so increasing market opportunities for farmers and increasing crop diversity within that region. And so we ended up getting the grant, and so it funded my position with her for a while. And so we got to hang out and just work on projects all the time. It was wonderful. And so then I learned how to farm, which was exactly what I wanted. So I got this boots on the ground experience and understanding a farmer's perspective of approaching the food system. And then kind of through this experience, actually, I was sent to a meeting on behalf of Noreen to represent farmers for this event called Local Foods, Local Places, yes. And in Little Falls, that was being hosted by Sprout. And so I went to this meeting on behalf of Noreen, and then I met all of these women at Sprout who were just doing such amazing things. They were just such spitfire women that were just getting things done. And so it was just like one of those sparks again. I was like, okay, I need to do something with these women. And so I emailed them and asked if there was anything that they needed help with. And so I talked to Arlene a few more times, and now that's where I'm at. I'm working at making it easier to find market access for farmers, especially farmers who are kind of right now traditionally left behind. So the Amish, like different like Latino growers, Black growers, and different marginalized populations who don't have market access. And so, and then also making it just easier to make these options to buy local and kind of creating a more robust and resilient food system. And so making sure that we kind of understand the world around us and how all of our choices kind of connect back to the world and have a greater effect than just that choice. And there's this ripple effect, right? Going back to water always, I guess, that just kind of splashes on. And so every single or every single decision you make is like a stone being thrown into water, and and you have these ripples that go out into the world. That's kind of your decision. But so yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm at Sprout. I'm the engagement coordinator there. So kind of just working on expanding the resources we have, and becoming more involved within the community, and just kind of working to revitalize rural Minnesota around the food system.
That was great. Thanks so much. It's great to learn more about you. And the first question we have is, when you think about the current times we're in, how has your work responded to, or how is it related to all the things that are going on in the world today?
Yeah, it's a very powerful question. I think that I don't know. I think food ultimately is the biggest decision factor and the biggest connector that exists within the world, because it is essentially all we need to survive. So when you talk about the food system in kind of everything that's happening right now, it is everything, because that truly is what we need to continue forward. And we're seeing so many exposures currently in the weaknesses that exist in our food system, and the need to really support our local farmers and build our rural economies back with what predominantly exists there, which is agriculture. And so supporting those systems and supporting the people that are in those systems, and making sure that the food that's being grown around us is getting to the plates that need it the most. And so addressing something that really unites us as human beings, and bringing people together around this very universal concept of food and water, essentially, I guess. That's what we need to kind of move forward and survive. And so right now, with kind of what we're doing at Sprout, is we're really trying to pivot and use most of our resources to make sure that we can still fill these market channels for our farmers that are typically doing wholesale accounts to like restaurants or schools or hospitals, that are kind of diminishing. But we're trying to pivot more to direct to consumer, and making sure that food is getting to the plates that need it the most, and not going to waste, and still allowing farmers to support themselves and keep producing on their land, and keep that in the hands of the farmers, because I mean, they already have been just going through such a tumultuous time in the time period we're living through. But so we've been doing a lot of different programming just to make sure that we can get food to kind of the people that need it the most, and kind of using that as almost a holistic approach. So if you're eating better, healthy food, you're feeling better as a human being, and you're able to just kind of move forward in a more productive manner in your life in general. And so and preparing food. And so we distribute CSAs, community supported agriculture, to individuals within the community that need it, as well as a public CSA that people can purchase. And then we augment that with recipes, preparation tips, storage tips, to kind of encourage creativity in the kitchen, and this idea of what you can do with your own two hands. And just kind of encourage that mindset to think about what you can achieve as your own being, and kind of moving forward from there. So essentially, we're working to build people around food, and encourage just everything to happen kind of from that lens, and just this encouragement to do and achieve, and through eating.